Daniele, and good afternoon, everybody. I'm here representing a large team, as you see. The team is, as I will say in a few minutes, it's a working group on Hypersonic in the frame of the Campania Aerospace District. The presentation essentially covers these topics: our identity, what we are, which is our approach in terms of aerospace Campania district, the working group on Hypersonics, what we believe are the perspectives and a possible solution for that, technology solution, and competence map and development roadmap we are working on, and last but not least, indications about demonstrator and research infrastructures. First of all, DAC is a relatively young organization. It was founded in 2015. We represent the 90% of the Campania region aerospace community. You see we have 160 members, direct and indirect members, 22 large companies, 110 SMEs, research centers, university, and all kind of entities. We, in a way, represent 15,000 employees, and you see the revenue of 2.8 billion per year, of course. Our approach is based on the fact that our stakeholders are essentially, in majority, are industries. And so our approach is industry first. That means our target is short to mid-term, relatively speaking. Well, heritage. You see here a number of major European projects. European national projects. Sorry for that. And you see here a number of the major projects in Italy. And what is important to underline for us is that essentially all of them were born in Campania in terms of concepts. Of course, there are some other, let's say, smaller examples of activities in Italy. Also at international level, you have already heard this morning a number of these projects. Campania participation via the Italian Aerospace Research Center, as well as a number of companies and universities, of course, is essentially, I would say, historical. It was mentioned this morning sometime that Luigi Napolitano was a major player, a scientific player in the region, and was, let's say, student of Antonio Ferri, and with Antonio Ferri in the 50s of last century started in Brooklyn, started already scramjet fundamentals. So that's our heritage starts from that point. Anyway, but let me take the occasion to mention that in a number of slides you will see accompanying, let's say, elements, not making direct part of the presentation, but just to show you as a complementary information, a number of concrete activities that the members of the working group are doing or have done, at least in the last years, the last 15 years. Well, another important point is that what we call RISC-3, that is the Campania Research Innovation Master Specialization Strategy in 2016, indicated in the business aviation the third possible area of specialization of the regional aerospace, let's say, sector. It was already indicated, clearly indicated, that going to supersonic hypersonic speed is certainly let's say, a way ahead. Well, this is the reason why we at DAC set up recently a dedicated working group on this specific topic. Hypersonics. By the way, we are going to set up other working groups in other sectors of the aerospace, just for your knowledge. You can see here all the companies, the big, large enterprises, the small, medium enterprises, research center, and academia that right now participate into the working group Hypersonics. Objective. The objective is to build up a roadmap based on system level studies, and based on a number of logical elements that we have in our heritage. So first of all, our tradition, our background, our heritage, as I said, the present activities of our members, industrial members, research academia members, as well as research centers, specific target, reference target products. I will come back on this point next chart. Priorities. We identify priorities of those technologies that are as much common as possible with respect to reference target products. And look and, let's say, give attention to those technologies that can reach TRL6 in a relatively short time because of our approach, as I was mentioning before. Our target of this working group is to identify a flight demonstrator and propose such kind of demonstrator to the entire, let's say, local government and even national government, and look for national and international collaboration, consolidation collaboration. Well, these are the reference target products. What does this mean? Essentially, the idea is not to develop systems. Essentially is to see and to interpret and to, let's say, identify what we believe will be the near future, relatively near future or mid-term future, in a number of, let's say, potential markets where hypersonics, let's say, play a role. And we identified already three, let's say, areas. One is business jet for passengers and a specific kind of cargo transportation. Suborbital space plane for micro, okay, I will go there. And then from the defense point of view, manned or unmanned winged defense system. And you can see here, I don't want to go into all details like this, but we have already identified a number of, let's say, limiting parameters. For example, for what concerns the business jet, just because business, we are talking about a single stage, I mean, just a classical, let's say, classical logical airplane taking off horizontally and landing horizontally without losing stages, things like that, so just one single stage. For some, let's say, less than 10 passengers, Mach not higher than 5, maybe 4 or 4.5, things like that. Okay, and other let's say, considerations. For what concerns suborbital spacement, of course, the implication essentially comes from the fact that, as we have heard this morning, maybe Italy will be the first European country having a spaceport, and with you know, suborbital flight, let's say, operational shortly by Virgin Galactic. And you know, the second stage of this kind of process could be let's say, the realization of our own suborbital space plane. For what concerns the military element, again, we selected something that we believe is of interest of the Air Force, and certainly partial in terms of requirements, and let's say with a number of commonalities with respect to the previous two applications, if you want. Perspective. In one word, not going to all the elements, essentially we say that there is no doubt, we have heard all the presentation before me, there is no doubt that sooner or later hypersonic will be let's say, hypersonic aircraft will be a reality. And the second point is that is that we strongly believe that the first stage will be a small airplane, relatively, let's say, relatively slow. I mean, Mach not larger than 5, as I say. Oh, sorry, too many. Sorry for that. Something wrong. Okay, sorry. Yeah, okay. I was already mentioning that for us it is okay. I want to mention one thing before, because there was in the last 6 years the iPlane project. You have seen a number of models outside the door. This project demonstrated in a way that either from technological point of view and from the economical point of view, it is easier to have and to realize a small vehicle with Mach number not too high, as I was saying, than bigger planes with very high speed velocity. Market analysis speculation. Of course, we didn't perform a real market study, but we analyzed the market study by many big players, Airbus, Boeing, Bombardier, and others, Federal Aviation Authority, etc., and speculating and collecting elements from these documents. It is clear that there may be a market for small airplane, as we will see later on. This I don't want to go into the detail at all, but I just want to mention one thing. Many people talk about TRL. TRL, the T stands for technology, by the way. And in order to have a system ready, it is not enough having technology ready level 6 for one technology. It is important to have, in principle, TRL 6, for example, for each technology. Then you have to have adequate level of integration readiness level between two or all interfacing technologies, and then you have to have adequate level of maturity for what concerns subsystem, and then you have to have adequate level of readiness at system level. So on that basis, if we start from already available technology, I'm talking about philosophy if you want, starting from available technology or most available technology, you will have an easier life. It would be let's say, faster to reach the system readiness level. That's the reason why, this is another reason why we are saying that smaller airplane and relatively slow airplane can be more feasible than others, because you can use without any problem titanium. You can use a number of technology already available today, already used today, and so that's what we are thinking about. This is Hypersonic, just a couple of slides, no more than that. This is a 6-seat plus 2 pilots configuration, Mach 4.5 spaceplane. Horizontal takeoff and horizontal landing, needing a runway of 1 kilometer. That means you can use such kind of airplane from almost, let's say, 80% of available airports in the world. Essentially, we did the present setup when it would, because as we will see later on, this vehicle use classical turbojet engines up to 10 kilometers altitude. So it's really an ordinary airplane. You see here the major market segment that such kind of concept could say address, and you can see on the other side of the slide couple of performances. So up to 7,000 kilometers point to point, that means transatlantic trajectory, flying at around 30 kilometers. And from what concerns the suborbital flight, you can reach the common line, or even make more than one parabola during the same flight, of course at a lower altitude. This is a schematic of a classic point-to-point stratospheric flight, and as I was mentioning, there will be a traditional horizontal takeoff, let's say, phase, up to 10 kilometers in altitude, reaching Mach 0.8, it's a classical airplane. Then acceleration along constant dynamic pressure trajectory up to 20 kilometers, where Mach 2.5 can be reached. Then switch to ramjet mode and have the cruise phase for a number of kilometers, number of, let's say, hours before starting the descent phase. This presentation does not deal with hyperplane per se, so I do not go into detail, but just to give a flavor of what we are talking about. If we talk about suborbital flight, essentially everybody today says that the suborbital market will be open and will be growing absolutely in the near future. But coming back to the previous discussion about market analysis, we have not found concrete elements demonstrating the fact that the market exists. So in other terms, what we have in our hands, what altogether have in our hands, is that the dimension of the market, the objective dimension of the market for suborbital flight is still too small and does not justify the realization of a new airplane unless you want to pay 250,000 euro per flight, as let's say, Beijing is going to offer, or is offering. This is just to have a very sharp, if you want, comparison in terms of major elements of number of or sum of the project. The only one more concrete is Spaceship Two, as you know, and you see number of elements and data. We could also add other parameters. For example, airplane has a cabin, a passenger cabin that is much larger than the cabin of the other aircrafts. Just to mention the fact that using the available technology is possible to play with parameters. We are not so much, let's say, limited because we are at the age of technology, etc. We are, in one word, margin. And this is the same schematic flight scenario, but in the case of suborbital flight, the beginning and the end is exactly the same as the previous one. While we reach let's say the cruise, if you want, cruise condition, you can then jump to a higher altitude, reaching Mach 4.5 during the maneuver, of course, and we will still have a residual horizontal, important residual horizontal velocity even at higher altitude. Well, few words about market size. I already mentioned the results, but I want to give you very highlights, small highlights. Essentially, with the speculation I was mentioned before, have been done on these two kind of segments, market segments: supersonic hypersonic transportation and suborbital space flight. And you see again what you already mentioned before. Well, this is, after all, a sum up of the potential market estimates, collecting all the elements coming from different sources and with some elaboration. Please take into account that the scale here is logarithmic. So this number here is others, it's secondary applications, is in the order of 100. This here is in the order of 100,000, and the middle one is in the order of 10,000. So you can see how many, let's say, tickets, if you want, can be sold in 20 years time. And in terms of business plan, you see here that with an investment in the order of 2 billion euro, with a classical industrial model, classical industrial business model, with a defined 2 billion as the development investment necessary to build up, to certify such kind of airplane. You see that over the entire life cycle of 20 years, we have something like 10 billion euro cost. And let me go directly to the first operating margin in the order of 3.7 billion. That is absolutely nothing with respect to other classical aeronautical products, but it's a clear demonstration, sort of demonstration if you want, that there is a possibility. There is a possibility in terms of business, with the break-even point at the middle of the life cycle. Well, some words about defense and dual use. These words are very, very clear and known to everybody. I don't want to spend too much time on that, but I want to mention that the threat coming from very high altitude or from space is acquiring strong and strong relevance for many people, many countries. And these are producing, this kind of thing, are producing, let's say, new requirements. By the way, it's not really new because these kind of things are repeated even in conference like this since years. Global deployability, prompt global strike, enemy defense, suppression, operation responsive space access. From one side. I'm not saying that this is exhaustive, these are just elements. And the same, rapid breach of a military theater or intersection of very fast intruders need other requirements or create let's say, other requirements. And from a certain point of view, take into account the fact that we have in mind a winged vehicle. Don't think about missiles in other terms. This kind of, let's say, functions can be taken into account. Okay, technologies. We have a number of charts like this, in which we have tried to collect a part of necessary technologies, and we are assessing these kind of things all together within the working group. I'm not saying that we are doing everything, and we will do everything, of course. We select a number of these technologies in accordance with our capability, with our heritage, and then we'll forward. The final one will look for let's say cooperation at the national level as well as international level. Okay. And so to build the roadmap I was mentioning, we have designed a number of steps. And what I want to underline right now is that we are, let's say, along this process, and we will be defining relatively shortly a demonstrator that should be able to support let's say the qualification and test of the selected technologies, or those technologies that we will select. And this is, for time being, the idea of the demonstrator. Maybe the word proposed demonstrator is too strong right now. It's just the very first idea that is based essentially on the activities run by right now, up to now, by several members of the working group. By the way, I don't remember if I say that the working group is an open working group. We hope to embark other members from our let's say district. And you see here using an available engine and trying to use, as I will say in a moment, let's say the Grotai Airport or spaceport that will be, let's say, certified hopefully in a relatively short time, or even what we call subordinate experimental polygon. And I go there. We are proposing, when we underline this kind of words, we are proposing to our local government and the national government to try to, let's say, establish a subordinate experimental polygon made up by Grazianise Military Airport, that is in the region of Campania, let's say, combined with one of more airport in Sardinia. Tortoli is just mentioned because it is just in front of Grazianise, but otherwise Decimomano or others. And the yellow line is the sea level, let's say, polygon already existing interforce polygon south of the equator that is used since years for many applications and research activities and military tests, etc. And the entire, almost the entire Tyrrhenian Sea area is already regulated by NOTAM, let's say, configured NOTAM situation, etc. I have completed. I have I think just one. Is that one? This is the last point. That even though we will, I don't know how much we will do in terms of propulsion in the region of Campania. Maybe we'll do something. I don't know. We will see. But essentially, Chile has a large facility like the plasma wind tunnel that we will evaluate in the near future if and how much such kind of facility can be used, adapted for hypersonic propulsion systems development. And I think I close here, especially thanking the student and young Bizjet group that have done and are doing a great job for the realization of the models. We have used this model in the wind tunnel test, in particular here in the academia for qualitative test, and we are you're seeing outside this kind of model that we hope to flight test supersonically, of course, in the near future. They are doing a good job, so I want to officially and publicly thank our let's say friends, young friends, Salvatore, Matilde, Simone, and all the others. Thank you again.
Do you have questions? Okay, so thank you very much for a nice presentation.
Thank you.